Hello friends, let me do another part of Parkinsonism. In the first two parts, what we saw is various causes and symptoms related to Parkinsonism. And in the second video, we saw the mechanism of action, how the dopamine is being traveled through direct and indirect pathway via corticostriatal pathway and nigrostriatal pathway. And let me finish off today. This is the last part of Parkinsonism, where we are dealing with classification and related to their drugs and what the drug is doing on the mechanism of action of dopamine synthesis. Here I have mentioned here the classification over here, and in the first category we can divide this classification into two parts. What is the drugs affecting on dopaminergic system, where the dopamines are being synthesized and being traveled, so that system is called as dopaminergic system. And the second system is called as affecting drugs on cholinergic system. Here I am just mentioning you once again, affecting drugs of cholinergic system. We know that the Parkinsonism is one of the disorder where we can see two types of neurotransmitters working. The one is dopamine, where it has been little bit reduced and the synthesis been controlled or blocked or inhibited, and maybe that has to be controlled and get back to dopamine synthesis perfectly. And later we can see the cholinergic system, which has been more increased, which is always doing the work of inhibition of dopaminergic systems in the basal ganglia, nothing but the caudate nucleus, the lentiform nucleus, the substantia nigra and the thalamus. All these four parts will be combined to form a form called basal ganglia. So in the first system we can saw that it is called as dopamine precursors. We know that dopamine cannot cross blood-brain barrier. So in order to make blood-brain barrier crossed with the drug, it has to have some precursors before. That means the one which crosses the blood-brain barrier can be used as a drug, so that after getting inside the brain, it converts itself into dopamine and facilitates the synthesis of dopamine. So the first category what we saw is dopamine precursor. The name itself is indicating you that. And the second one is dopamine agonists. And in the first concern, dopamine precursors, levodopa is one of the best drug. We know that levodopa is one of the precursors of synthesis of dopamine, and it is also been synthesized as in the form of drugs, and is also directly used in the form of levodopa. And here you have a second category called dopamine agonists. And the dopamine agonists are of three. What is called as bromocriptine, ropinirolone and pramipixole. So bromocriptine, ropinirole and pramipixole. So these are the three drugs which are used as a dopamine agonist. And now we'll come to the third category, what is called as monoamino oxidase inhibitors. So this is indicated over here, and the two drugs which are present in this category are selegiline and rasagiline, out of which selegiline is more important. And next we have in the fourth category COMT inhibitors. This is nothing but catecholamine O-methyl transferase inhibitors, which these two, that means MNOB and COMB, are used in the metabolism of dopamine, nothing but the reuptake of dopamine for the storage purposes, for the conservation purposes. And we have NMDA antagonists. These NMDA antagonists are nothing but the receptors which are present on the glutamine receptors, glutamine neurons, and on top of which you have NMDA receptors, which is always used for the excitation of the neurons. In this purpose, the excitation is more and more, so that it has to be controlled by the dopamine, and dopamine is also should be acted so that the excitation is more and more and more. So we can call NMDA antagonist. That means we are trying to disturb the activity of NMDA. That means we are opposing the action of glutamate. And here the sixth category is called as peripheral decarboxylase. And this decarboxylase is one of the enzymes which are used for the synthesis of dopamine to metabolized by COMT to DDC. So what is DDC? Dopa decarboxylase enzyme. And this decarboxylase enzyme can be used for the preparation of dopamine. And here I am indicating over here. So this will be in the synthesis. You can see the process there. And next, the next main category is called as affecting drugs affecting drugs on cholinergic system. This is dopaminergic system and this is cholinergic system. And you have two drugs over here and two main categories. One is called as anticholinergics, nothing but it is acting against cholinergic. That means it is blocking your acetylcholine synthesis. The main example is piperidine. And next, antihistamines, and this is one of the other category which consists of promethazine and onifenadrine, and these two are not much potent, but the blocked ones over here which are blocked in green are being potent in the use of Parkinsonism. One is levodopa, selegiline, entacapone, hematidine and carbidopa. These are the four important drugs used for the treatment of Parkinsonism. So sometimes what happens is the one drug may not be used and may not give you much treatment for the Parkinsonism. So what happens at that place, we need to combine 2 or 3 drugs so that the power of your capacity of that particular combination of the drugs will be more easy to take up the Parkinsonism. And before conducting about the mechanism of action of all these 4 drugs, just let me recap of your synthesis. We know that these are different types of synthesis given over here. One is called 3-OMD, nothing but 3-OM and methyl diethyl dopa, which is used for the main, which is a main component for the synthesis of dopamine. And in this dopamine is being prepared both in the periphery stage and in the brain stage. That means the periphery is also supplying some of the L-dopa to the brain, so that the development of brain will be more and more having the dopamine in its storage house called as substantia nigra. And so here this is a periphery part, this is a periphery part, this is the brain part. And here this 3-OMD is been developing itself into L-dopa, and L-dopa is converting itself into dopamine, and dopamine by the help of COMT and MOB are being metabolized to various compounds called as 3-MT and DOPAC, and DOPAC is nothing but dihydroxyphenyl acetic acid, and 3-MT is called as methyltyramine. And these 2 drugs, that means 3-MT and DOPAC, is being converted itself into HVA. We know that it is called as homovinylic acid, and this is a final product of metabolism of dopamine, which has to be available in the liver for the byproducts of your urine and feces. And in the periphery stage, we know that the L-dopa is converting itself into dopamine, and this dopamine is converting itself from L-dopa by an enzyme called as dopa decarboxylase, that is given as DDC over here, and which is having a best example of carbidopa. So by seeing these examples, we can see that where and what spot the drugs can be used. And in the first spot, L-dopa, in order to produce more and more L-dopa, we need to use dopamine precursors. We know that the L-dopa is a precursor of your dopamine. So at this stage, when we start doing some drugs synthetically, so they are called as dopamine precursors, the development of DA can be more and more synthesized. So what we can call as dopamine agonists or dopamine precursors. So what happens when this type of drug is used particularly onto the periphery Parkinsonism, this L-dopa preparation cannot convert itself into dopamine, and some of this L-dopa is converting itself into brain, so that L-dopa will be more and more present in the precursors form, which is synthesizing your DA. So once they are synthesizing your DA, what happens, the nigral striata substantia nigra, which is a house of dopamine, is facilitating both D1 and D2, so that the receptors are being stimulated and more synthesizing of dopamine can be happen. So this is called, and the example is, best example is L-dopa. So this is the first stage of mechanism of action. And now we'll see the second one, what is called as MAO inhibitors. And we know that the MAO inhibitors are something which are used for the metabolism of dopamine. So what happens when we start blocking these part, stopping MAOB block, what happens? The DA will be remained over here without any further metabolism. So when the peripheral metabolism has been cancelled, the bioavailability of the drug is more, so the availability of dopamine is more, and so the dopamine can be used for the preparations of the cycles of direct and indirect. So this is the action of MAOB. So that is given over here. This is called MABO inhibitors, nothing but selegiline and rosagiline. And next we'll come to the second, third, fourth category, COMT inhibitors. We know that COMT is one of the enzyme which is used for the metabolism of dopamine, and it has been converting itself into 3-MT. So once this COMT is being blocked off in brain part, particularly in brain part, what happens? The metabolism is being reduced and the synthesis of dopamine will stay like that without any metabolized, giving you the products of final products. So what happens? The dopamine will start increasing over here. So once this dopamine is increased, we know that it is acting on your D1 and D receptors, which are present on direct and indirect pathways, which are very helpful for the synthesis of or the flow of dopamine for the more and more excitations of GABAergic inhibitions. And also we can see the next category, what is called as peripheral decarboxylase. Here we can see that the decarboxylase, that is dopa decarboxylase, is one of the enzyme which is present in the periphery dopamine synthesis, where the conversion of L-dopa is converted into dopamine. So what happens? These peripheral decarboxylase inhibitors, when they are acting on the periphery stage, this is being blocked off. So what happens? There is more and more L-dopa. So what happens whenever there is more and more L-dopa? It is directly started transferring into brain part. So whatever the L-dopa is present in the periphery stage is always traveling to the brain part, and so the L-dopa is much more increased over here. So what we can understand by this, it is very easy. The more and more L-dopa is present, you can see the more and more quantities of DA. And so once there is more and more quantities of DA, possibly it is acting on D1 and D receptors, nothing but the direct and indirect receptors. So we can see that the flow of dopamine has to be more and more, so that the working of Parkinson excitation will be increased, because the Parkinsonism is being symptomized by the sluggish movements of your feet and limbs. So these two can be progressed with the help of dopamine synthesis more and more to act on direct and indirect pathway. That is nothing but the corticostriatal pathway and also Niagara striatal pathway. And now we'll come to the last part, what is called as carbidopa. Here, this I given here, this is called decarboxylase inhibitors, nothing but the carbidopa. So the best example is carbidopa. So the carbidopa is blocking your DDC. So once it is blocking your DDC, the L-dopa is available, and this L-dopa has been traveling to the brain through BBB, and this BBB is being converted L-dopa into dopamine. So it is acting on your brain perfectly. So this is a whole picture of all the classification of the drugs. So if you are much confused, let me do one example so that you can understand the remaining. So I am erasing this mechanism of action over here, acting on all the drugs. Now let me do only one example over here so that it will be clear for you. And now I am writing levodopa here. As I said before, one drug cannot be used in Parkinsonism. So the only combination of drugs can be used. So what happens whenever levodopa is not so effective in treating your Parkinsonism, it can be added with entacapone or nothing but your COMT inhibitors, and also it can be combined with carbidopa, which is nothing but peripheral decarboxylase inhibitors. So let me finish off what happens over here. So levodopa is one of the best drug which is used as dopamine precursors over here. And what is happening? It is produced synthetically and it is acting on. So we know where it is acting. It is almost present in brain and periphery nervous systems. Brain and periphery dopaminergic neurons. Okay. Now, so what happens when this weight is acting on the levodopa? The preparation of lower dopamine in the periphery is not happened, and it is been traveled to the brain. So at what happens? The levodopa is always helpful for the facilitating. So we can write that later. The word like here, facilitating. What it is facilitating? It is facilitating both D1 that means direct pathway, and D2 nothing but indirect pathway for the release. So what happens? It is acting on the receptors of D1 and D2. It is facilitating more and more dopamine to submit on the GABAergic neurons and the glutamate neurons. And so what happens? The excitation which has been more and more onto the dopaminergic, it is enhanced. So you can write it like this point. Double arrow means excitation is more, 2 times or 3 times. So the excitation is more, increasing excitation on glutamate neurons So once the dopamine excitation has to be increased, we know that it has to be increase your sodium and calcium ions. So you finish off that also here. Increasing sodium and calcium channels So what happens? Increasing your dopamine quantity to travel, and furthermore you can write the final word, decreasing Parkinsonism. You can write in the same manner, but you can also write it as anti-Parkinsonism. So both ways it is being alarmed. So it is decreasing your Parkinsonism or it is acting as anti-Parkinsonism. So this is the action of levodopa, how we need to act on a mechanism of action. So if you represent like this, it will be very understand for the students or for the ones who have been studying that it is given in the 4 to 5 points. What is that means? It is acting on, so what we can need to write, it is acting on both brain and the periphery dopaminergic neurons. So what it is acting, once it is acting on, it is doing something. So what it is doing, it is facilitating the D1 and D2 receptors. So here I didn't write anything, I'll just finish up with that. D1, D2 receptors, facilitating D1, D2 receptors for the release. Let me finish off the small part also. D1, D2 receptors for the release. So what it is releasing? It is releasing the dopamine for the excitations of more and more excitations, or it is doing or acting on glutamatergic neurons. And once these glutamate neurons has to be more and excited, what happens? The sodium and calcium channels which are being used for the action potential and the firing of potential has to be more and more working, and once these two channels are open, you can see the more and firing of neurons, nothing but the action potential. Once the action potential is seen, you can supply more and more dopamine into that, and so that firing of enzymes is much more enhanced, and it is directly pathway doing the indirect pathway, sending the messages to the primary cortex center, and from the primary cortex center it is directly reaching your spinal cord, where it has to be reached to the various organs, particularly the limbs and feet, where it is to be supplied by triceps and biceps muscles. So this is the action of levodopa. And finally let me finish off the areas what are related to it. So as I said, these levodopa is much precursors. It is having some areas, so nothing but adverse drugs reactions. Let me finish off. So the best adverse affections of this are hallucinations. Why? Because it is more and more related to brain. So the brain may related to all the moods, behavior. We know that it is always related. The GABA is related to behavior, emotions and feelings, and what it is related to hallucinations, and it may be lead to anorexia, nothing but lack of hunger. Next you have nausea, because it is acting on CTZ center. It is nausea, nothing there, won't you? So it is nausea, it is vomiting, Sometimes it creates mydriasis. Why? Because it is acting on cholinergic system. Sometimes it acts as glaucoma, which is nothing but increasing of your intraocular pressure. And sometimes you get on and off ability. What is this on and off ability is? It is indicating both words here, on and off. So what happens when there is prolonged treatment of all these Parkinsonism drugs, the patient may sometimes get ADRs, what is called on and off. This on and off is nothing but the wearing off. So what happens when this type of on and off is being happened? The on means the person may be do the work little bit faster. He can do the normal activity. Sometimes within seconds or within minutes he'll go to the off condition. So what is that condition? Once again he becomes sluggish. He becomes so less in their movements. He may receive hypokinesia. He may receive bradykinesia. Sometimes he may receive akinesia. So we cannot be predicted how the patient will be. So that condition is called as on and off ability, which is a very bad quality of levodopa. And also sometimes whenever this type of wearing off has to be controlled, what happens? This levodopa has to be mixed up with 2 or more drugs, and those drugs are entacapone and carbidopa. So what happens? The levodopa with the entacapone with the carbidopa, whenever they've been are being combined to form one drug and available in the brand names in the market, so that is having an ability to control this on and off activity, so the person may come out of Parkinsonism little bit faster. So these are little bit ADRs. And now let me come to CI. Indicating this CI, you can understand that as it is doing some glaucoma here, as it is doing some mydriasis over here, you can understand that it cannot be used in the patients who are suffering already with glaucoma. So it is contraindicated in glaucoma. And also it is also indicated that it should not be used in any CNS disorders, because hallucinations is one of your ADRs. So the CNS disturbances, who is having barbiturates, who are using prolonged barbiturates, who are using some benzodiazepines, all these drugs which are using hypnotics, sedatives. So who is always acting on epileptics, anti-epileptic drugs. So this type of people who are using all those cannot be used. So it is contraindicated in seizures people or convulsions people who are already suffering, and so this can be little bit contraindicated. And now let me come to IR. We know that IR is nothing but the interactions through which the combination of drugs cannot be added. So what happens? The IR, here I am doing L. L stands for levodopa. What been doing with there? So what happens? This type of drugs cannot be added with a protein food. Why? Because the amino A, amino B cannot be taken with the tyrosine foods. So what happens? Whenever this levodopa is given with high protein food, the toxicity is increased. That means it may lead to more and more ADRs. That means it is increasing your toxicity. And also if the L-dopa is combined with selegiline, by this you can understand what is that. The selegiline is nothing but this part where it is been acting on MNO-B inhibitors. So whenever this L-dopa is being combined with selegiline, automatically the power of Parkinsonism treatment is increased. So this is the best picture of levodopa, which consists of the mechanism of action, the ADRs, the contraindications and the interactions from what it is been acting. So this is the real picture. So once again, if they ask you about carbidopa, nothing has to be worried. Start the work with the carbidopa and you can start writing. It is acting both, only it is acting on the periphery. Why? Because the DDs is not available in the brain. So it is having, already it is indicating over here, peripheral. Nothing but it is acting only on the peripheral synthesis of dopamine. So what happens? You just keep the board as a carbidopa and start writing acts on. So it is acting on DDC. nothing but the peripheral DA synthesis. And what it is blocking? It is blocking DDC, nothing but dopa decarboxylase enzyme. So once the DDC being blocked off, what happens? The dopamine cannot be synthesized in the periphery stage, nothing but making the facilitation of L-dopa to always cross the BBB and enter into the brain. So once it enters in the brain, we automatically know that the availability of L-dopa is more, means the availability of dopamine is much more. So we can understand by that the synthesis of dopamine is being increased. What is the main aim of your Parkinsonism? So that is the carbidopa. So once again, if they ask you about selegilant, it is much more easy. So where we saw that MAO is nothing but it is doing the work of performing dopac there. What is that? 3,4-dihydroxyphenylacetic acid. So once that MAO has been blocked off, so what happens? The metabolism of dopamine has been not done. So if the metabolites are not there, the facilitation of dopamine is much more. That means the availability of the drug is more for you, and once the availability of the drug is more, it has to cross your it can be work onto the brain once it is converted into brain parts and also onto the periphery. So that is a real picture. Why? Because once the dopamine is being not metabolized, the more and more dopamine will be available in the brain for the acting on D1 and D2 receptors. So that is the picture. So once again, if you see the COMT receptors, this is nothing much more easy. All has entacapone. When you ask for entacapone, you need to write that it is acting on something. So where it is acting? It is acting on both periphery and also onto the brain. Why? Because you have an enzyme on COT in the periphery stage where it is converting 3-OMT to L-dopa, and also it is acting onto the brain where COMT is being metabolized to 3-MT, nothing but methylthyramine. So once these two are blocked off, what happens? There is availability of more L-dopa and also the more availability of methyl digoxy. What is the 3-OMD, and once that 3-OMD is available for you, and more L-dopa can be prepared in the brain, and more L-dopa is converting into brain dopamine, and so the dopamine is always facilitating for you to act on D1 and D2 receptors, nothing but the direct and indirect pathways. So this is a real picture of Parkinsonism. With a small picture, you can able to understand the whole classification in one diagram. So this is making you the pharmacology of Parkinsonism very easy. Thanks for the class.